Are you ready for the best damn sports radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. Where I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who coming to the sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live, all 3 speakers go.
What is up, Man Hour Nation? We have a jam-packed show for you today. The Wyatt Williams here with you. Combs is here as well. We'll bring him on in just a second. But before that, make sure you like and subscribe if you have not yet. Just so you know, we are on manhourradio.com where you can get merch. We've also got our members-only page there as well. We are also live. Excuse me. We are live right now on Big X Radio from 3 to 5 today, Monday through Friday, to make that be exact, as well as we are on 313 The Flash from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And with that being said, I'm going to bring on the man, the myth, the Brandon Combs. Combs, how are we doing today, sir?
What is going on?
Nothing much, man. Hey, you apparently had a pretty big weekend, I guess you could say. So a proposal in part of that. Go ahead and run us through what happened there.
Yeah, man. So it was a crazy weekend. We actually went to a place called Uncle Julio's here in Chicago. It was actually the spot of our first date. And I had her daughter help me pick out the ring. And we took her promise ring as well. And afterwards, after dinner and stuff, we got outside because it was kind of in a cramped. I was gonna do it inside. But we ended up in a booth, and the booth was kind of tight, so it would have been a little bit awkward. But then we ended up outside. I asked her if she would take a picture with me. And, beforehand, I had already asked her daughter, and I asked her brother, and I asked her dad, the old-fashioned way, kind of. And told her I was going to ask her the question, and I got down on one knee, and, she cried. People in the parking lot were cheering. And yeah, so the manager comes out to bring somebody their food because somebody was getting takeout. And as he's coming out, he looks at her and he goes, "Oh, I hope the service and the food didn't make you cry, right?" Well, she's all flustered, and she goes to the manager of the restaurant, and she goes, "No, he just proposed, and this was our first date." And the manager just kind of looks there and he's like, "Oh, congratulations." Because she says, oh, instead of saying, "Hey, this is the place of our first date," she says, "This is our first date, and not only are we on our first date, but her 13-year-old daughter is with us and everything." So it just made it look really awkward. Yeah. But no, man, it was good. It was really good. I'm very happy.
That's awesome, man.
They say the third time's a charm, so let's find out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like the optimism in that.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's one of those where, I asked a buddy of mine earlier in the week. I said, "Hey, am I crazy for doing this again?" He's like,
round 3.
He's like, if you're happy, you're happy. He's like,
exactly.
The first 2 ended because of other reasons. He said, but if this is what you want and this is what you're doing and you're happy, it's like, it's not crazy at all. Just do what makes you happy. So it's definitely it's going to be fun. It's a lot better this time for sure. I could tell you that much. Michelle's done a lot in the way of teaching me that's okay to be myself again, and what true love really is. So it's a good thing for sure.
That's awesome, man. I'm really, really happy for you as well. I know
Thank you.
Buck's not here with us now, but I know he is very happy for you as well. We all are.
Yeah. He made a post because our old co-host Mike LeBlanc also got engaged on Saturday, so
Same
it was
day.
kind of and we didn't plan that. A couple people had asked us, "Hey, did you guys plan that?" And I was like, "No." I said it's funny because I texted you and Buck a picture of the ring and said, "Boys, I'm gonna get engaged." I said,
Yeah.
"Well, at least I'm gonna pop the question, and then it was like a half hour later, me and Buck get a group message from LeBlanc. Boys, I'm proposing on Saturday. I'm like, oh. So I sent a picture of my ring. I said, hey, yeah, me too. So it's just, hey, it was one of those things.
Yeah.
And as Penelope chimes in, says, I agree. Happy is happy. The number 3 is just a number. It is just a number, but also I'm not gonna lie, the number 3 has been my number all throughout sports. So in high school, I was number 3. When I ran track, I was always in lane number 3 for some reason. And then as I grew up in sport, in softball and in hockey, I always wore the number 3. So hey, the 3 is my lucky number, and that's where we're going with it. So.
Absolutely, man. But like I mentioned, we are on Big X Sports Radio right now. But the big thing here, we got a jam-packed show for you today. We've got some MLB talk. We got a little bit of UFC talk. We got a little bit of NCAA talk. Some NFL, of course. We've got a crazy day.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
After an
We've
awesome
already got
weekend.
people chiming in over here on the chat. It was a crazy weekend of sports. What's funny is yesterday I proposed, and then we had to hurry home to watch the fights. Like, and she was okay with it.
I know we just had this really sweet moment.
This one's
outside of our,
different,
Yeah, I know we just had this really sweet moment outside of the place where we had our first date. But now we get to go watch people beat people up. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Get in the car. Come on.
So let's check over here in the chat line real quick, see what's going on here. Drew says, "What's up, boys? What's going on, Drew? Man, always happy to see you back in the chat." So Drew messaged me last night. I'm watching UFC 259, which was as it was advertised. There were some crazy things that happened, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Hopefully, Hoffy will join us. Not sure if he's going to be able to, but hopefully he will. We'll break that down for you guys. But Drew messaged me last night. He's like, what's funny? He's like, this is the first time I'm ever watching a UFC event. And I said, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, I never would have got into it except for you guys on the show actually made it sound so much fun that I actually went and got the pay-per-view. So that was really awesome to hear. So, Drew, it's always good to see you in the chat, buddy. And Tori Anderson says, I said yes to him, Wyatt.
Attaboy, Tori.
What was the question I asked you, Tori? Because sure it wasn't to marry me. I'll tell you that much. Football Kid Murray says, congratulations. Thank you very much. Drew chimes in. Is it congratulations or condolences? Well, Drew, you're a married man, so you know that it's both.
He did. Hey, after he said that though, he did chime in with this one right here. Said, "JK, just kidding. Congrats, bro."
Yeah, absolutely. And then Buck says, Cindy and I are very happy for you. It makes her even more happy to know that I'm not doing a show with a bunch of single guys. And then he says, Wyatt, you're next to pop that question. And Penelope Nana chimes in and says, shut up, Buck.
No, Nana.
Putting you on the
Nana,
spot here, Wyatt.
Yeah, Nana loves Nikki, but I agree with her that we need to pump the brakes on that a little bit.
Let
I'm
the
not
kid
even, I haven't even
graduate
graduated high school yet. Let's
Oh man, you haven't even graduated high school.
Yeah, I graduate in
Man,
like 2 or 3 months. It's pretty crazy.
Haven't even graduated high school, and I've already had to get bailed out of jail. Wow.
Exactly.
We were talking backstage. Wyatt had a wild weekend. We'll just tell you guys that much. We're not going to get too far into it, but
Yes.
Wyatt had a wild weekend, and hey, such is life when you are in high school, and things get crazy sometimes. And look, I tell you, if I told you about all the times that I went to jail while I was in high school, we'd have to do about a week.
Hold on, I didn't go to jail now. I wasn't in trouble. Somebody, I am not saying any names or anything. Somebody got a little wild over a ex-girlfriend situation, and it escalated very quickly. and I had to file a police report over it because somebody came after my buddy. So that's all. That's all it was. It was nothing. It was nothing too crazy. And nobody got cuffed. Nobody was in jail. I did not go to jail.
All right. Well, with that being said, it was a wild weekend for everybody.
Crazy weekend.
And look, man, sports wise as well. There's been a lot of stuff that has gone on. Obviously, UFC 259 was the headline of the weekend, especially the Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling fight, which we'll get to here in a little bit. One thing I want to touch on though before we head to our first break, though, Wyatt, is preseason baseball. One of the things that I was, I'm in another chat. I've got so many group chats going on right now. But me and Hoffy and Buck were talking, and Buck was like, "Hey, Hoffy, you putting the Kansas City Royals in your top 10? They're winning a whole lot." And I'm like, "Buck, pump the brakes, buddy." I say, you don't change your top 10 too much in the preseason because it's your minor leaguers that are winning, or it's your major leaguers that are winning against their minor league squad. Like, you don't know, you can't take too much into account unless there's a big trade, or if there's a big injury, major injury, then maybe you can adjust it a little bit. But usually your preseason rankings don't go around too much. But we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And we'll definitely get to a lot of that baseball and UFC talk when we come back from our first break. Buck chimes in real quick, says, "I didn't say that. I said the Royals always win in spring." Oh, that's not what he said.
Oh, changing the wording now,
I'll screenshot the chat. I ain't scared. But anyway, I think the last time that the Cubs were the best team in spring training, I believe they won 71 games that year. So I take no stock into what happens in spring training. What I do take into stock in spring training, the thing that I watch for in spring training is how well your young bats are swinging, how well the guys who are going to be in your top 9 are swinging, whether they're taking pitches or are they swinging at junk, are they chasing all the time. That's the stuff I take into look for. And I will say that as a Cubs fan, I'm very happy with what I'm seeing so far in spring training. Wins or losses I throw out the window because I really don't care about wins or losses. I care about how, people, produce in the things that they do during spring training. Cubs will be a bust this season. No, they won't. But at any rate, I'm very happy with what I'm seeing from the Cubs this spring. I'm actually I do like your Royals a lot, Buck. I've been watching them a little bit this spring. They're swinging a really good bat right now. But it's one of those things where, yes, sure, you're swinging a good bat. It's still early in spring, so you're facing your major league starters for about an inning and a half. And then it's, hey, let's see what this guy's got. Let's see what this guy's got. And as guys who aren't in their normal roles, you're seeing closers pitch in the 3rd and 4th inning to get some work in. It's just not the same. So I don't take too much stock into wins and losses in the spring. But let's go ahead and head to our first break. Why don't you send us out to break?
Absolutely. So we will be right back after the break and have more man hour action for you.
All right, so we are back here on the Man Hour. We've got some baseball talk to get to. We've got a lot of stuff going on, like we teased before the break, in spring training. And one of the things I want to talk about, and I just said I don't take a lot of stock into spring training wins and losses, that type of stuff. But one of the things that I found very interesting, Wyatt, is that when you look at the spring training standings, the Royals and the Cubs are atop of the Cactus League. And then you go down to the Grapefruit League, and the Detroit Tigers and the Pittsburgh Pirates are both in the top 5 in record in the Grapefruit League. And one of the things that we've been really, really high on here is that both Central divisions are going to be down. Now, I thought that both Central divisions were going to be down because I thought that other than the Cubs and maybe the Brewers in the NL Central and the White Sox and the Minnesota Twins in the AL Central, I thought that both of those teams were really going to have down years, the rest of the teams in those divisions. And so far in spring training, they're coming out swinging hot. Is this something that we should start paying attention to? Is this something we should take notice? And if they are still swinging hot bats, week 3 and week 4 of spring training, is this something we should say, hey, maybe they've got something that we didn't see coming?
Well, yeah, and it kind of depends on the player, honestly. If you've got some of your young people that play in your minor leagues, that they have a hot bat, I mean, it's cool to see that the future of your program or your future of your ball club has has some good players coming up. But if it all depends on the player. If you've got a guy who is in your starting crew there that'll go play on opening day and beyond, and he doesn't have a hot bat, but the young kid does, then it's kind of it's nothing really to be too excited about, honestly, because whatever you do in spring training doesn't translate over into the season as for record wise. So you could be the best team in spring training and still turn around and be the worst team in the MLB whenever it all comes said and done. So I think it just kind of talks about, it is a good in a way for these teams in the NL Central that will not have the best of seasons this year, normal seasons of the last couple of years, especially for the Cubs. So it kind of just reverts back to that they've got, things to look forward to in the future. They've got some guys in the field that will be heading up towards the MLB eventually and playing up there that will be good. So it's kind of, you could take it both ways. You could take it as a positive because the future of your program's in good hands if you've got those young guys that are playing really well. And it also, kind of makes you shake your head a little bit if your young guys are swinging the bat better than your guys that are out there right now playing, So it's kind of half and half on that one. It depends on how you see it and how your team is playing and how your starters versus your minor league players are playing.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with that. Like, I think that there are, it's more about, as opposed to wins and losses, it's about how the guys are performing on the field. It's about whether or not, you're sending for, if you're talking about the Cubs here, if we're sending out, Pedro Strop in the 3rd and 4th inning, is he going through the inning 1, 2, 3, or is he giving up a couple of hits? Is he walking guys? Is he hitting guys again? Is he doing the things that, the reason why we let Pedro Strop go in the first place? Is he doing those things? I know he's happy to be back in Chicago, so maybe that does something for him, and I hope it does. But that's what we're looking for in spring training. We're looking for the guys that are doing the right things, the guys that are performing the way we want them to perform when we bring them into the games. And sometimes it could be a minor leaguer who we don't see coming. Sometimes there's always those guys out there that just, blow up in spring training. A couple of years ago for the Cubs, it was David Bodie. Came out of nowhere. I mean, career minor leaguer, just came out of nowhere after 7 years in the minors, had a blown up spring, then gets in there and, he comes in to the Cubs lineup and he's just making clutch at bat after clutch at bat in 2017, 2018. He's just, every time he comes in to pinch hit, he's either hitting a home run. I mean, how the photo I got behind me is of that, amazing grand slam that he hit against the Nationals when the Cubs were down 3-0 in the bottom of the 9th inning and hadn't hit a lick all night long. Got lucky, got 3 walks, got on base, and David Bodie came up and just launched a ball into center field. So those are the guys that I like to see in spring training. I like to see the youngsters play. I'd almost rather see until week 4, kind of like in the NFL. You don't
Yeah.
really see your starters play a full game until the final week of the
And it always
preseason. But
progresses. So like week 1, it's
yeah,
always a quarter. Week 2, it's a half. Week 3, it's either a half or 3/4. And
right.
then that final week, you get that full game.
Yeah, and I mean those first 3 weeks really are to find out what you have in your backups. So you're building your depth chart the first 3 weeks of preseason, and I
Yeah.
think you're doing the same thing the
Or
first
even
3 weeks of spring training as well. Like I think you're finding out what you have in the minors, what you're looking like, who you want to look at in case an injury does happen. Who are we bringing up first? Who's coming here? And so those are the things that I like to look for in spring training. The other thing that I want to talk about here, as far as baseball goes, is did you see Trevor Bauer?
no.
So Trevor Bauer pitched an inning yesterday against the San Diego Padres. He had something going on with his eye. I still haven't figured out the story as to what was going on with his eye. So if any of you guys in the chat room know what was up with his eye, let me know. But he pitched an inning. He had one eye shut the entire time. Like, I don't know if he had pink eye or if something flew in it, and he just, like, it was...
Or was it too bright out maybe?
Yeah, or maybe he ran into one of the Mets pitching staff during spring training or something. I don't know.
That is a very possible outcome considering the Twitter beef they've got going on right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, they would have had to fly to Arizona to do it, or he would have had to fly to Florida. But still, at any rate...
They don't call him Thor for nothing.
Right, exactly. So, he's pitching, and he pitches a full inning against the Padres with one eye and shuts them down. This guy has done such a good job at marketing himself. It's amazing to me. But then he does stupid stuff like this, and I'm like, God, I don't understand this kid. Like, I don't know what to make of him.
He's the best pitcher in the MLB, Combs. Just accept it, man.
Stop it.
Just accept it.
Stop it. He is not the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. My God. He's not even the best pitcher on his team. Jeez, crow.
We'll see. Do you think Kershaw could pitch with one eye? No. You think Cy Young could pitch with one eye? No.
Kershaw could pitch better a full season better than Trevor Bauer if he had both eyes shut.
That's false.
That's true. It's absolutely true. There is no way on any planet that Trevor Bauer is ever better than Clayton Kershaw ever. I don't care. I don't care if he's coming
right
off
now
a
on
Cy
Earth,
Young
okay?
season. No, it's not.
Just like Joe Dippy said, "Welcome to Earth, third rock from the sun, man." I mean, you've been here, Combs. You can see it.
Look, I don't know what's going on with Trevor Bauer. He's one of those guys who, again, he's had 9 seasons in the league. And only 2 of those seasons has his ERA been underneath 4. And last year he won a Cy Young because of it. And it was a shortened season. I think he finished off the season at something like 4-2 or something. It was ridiculous. And to be honest with you, his team didn't even make the playoffs. He shouldn't have been the Cy Young. I still feel like that Cy Young should have gone to Yu Darvish. And I know I'm a Cubs fan, and people are going to say that that's a homer take. But Yu Darvish had just as good of a year, had better numbers, with the exception of the ERA number, had a better win-to-loss. His team went to the playoffs. Like, I don't understand how that Cy Young didn't go to Yu Darvish, but I think that Trevor Bauer has just done such a great job of marketing himself. I think what won him the Cy Young was the fact that he was becoming a favorite of everybody. He has become a favorite of fans. He's become a favorite of the media. They love because of all of the stuff that he's not afraid to say anything. He's a loose cannon on the mic. So I think that that's what won him the Cy Young, to be completely honest with you. Sometimes you get that it's not who you know type thing. So, it's just one of those things. So, looks like Hoffy's going to go ahead and jump in here in just a few minutes. He's setting up right now. He just messaged me, which is good because you keep talking about Trevor Bauer when we do baseball talk, and I'm getting sick of it. So we're going to bring on the lackey here in just a few minutes, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more baseball. But so have you watched, how much spring training have you watched this weekend? Any?
Honestly, man, I didn't get a chance to watch any games of any sports this weekend. Pretty much, I got to watch a little bit of college basketball, but I was face down, butt up in broadcasting games. I had Friday night. I had 2 games, which one of them was a buzzer beater where Bedford North Lawrence beat New Albany. The second game went to triple overtime in a high school game.
Wow.
So that game happened, and then the very next day, I had the sectional championship. Got to cut down the net and everything with the team, which was pretty cool. And then so I had a ton of games to call this weekend and a ton of stuff doing. So I unfortunately I didn't get to watch many games.
I've got a question for you though.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're calling games that you are face down and butt up?
The action on the floor.
I mean, you said it. I'm just wondering, like what is going on in the booth?
Yeah,
to put you in that position. I mean, because there's an old song about that, and I just I don't know what that's taking.
Yeah, no, it's no comment.
Why are you turning red, Wyatt? What is going on?
I mean, it's okay. It sounded bad. All right.
Oh
Jeez.
my God. Oh boy. All right. So then, not only that, we got a bunch of stuff going on over in baseball world. Yu Darvish pitching on Sunday, strikes out 4 in his Padres debut. Still looks as sharp as he looked in his final season with the Cubs. He is a guy for me that is the difference maker over in San Diego. He is a guy that once they signed him, and I know they went out and got Blake Snell, and Blake Snell made them better right off the bat. But once they added Yu Darvish, to me that made them the best pitching staff in that division. And I get you're good, you like Trevor Bauer, you like the Dodgers pitching staff. I think that the Padres pitching staff is the best in the NL West, if not, and close to being the best in baseball if it wasn't for the New York Mets. I don't even have the Dodgers in the top 2. So for me, Yu Darvish is really going to tell the tale of how the Padres stack up in the first 2 weeks. I mean, the one thing that he doesn't have that Trevor Bauer has is his agent. And his agent is smoking hot. If you have not seen Trevor Bauer's agent, look her up. Luba Sports, Luba Sports. She is oh man. Yeah, she is very, very pretty. But Yu Darvish is one of those guys who just changes the tone of that pitching staff. So when you go after Blake Snell, excuse me here. So with the San Diego Padres pitching staff, what we have here is just a team that is young. They are poised. They are ready. And this pitching staff has Blake Snell, who won a Cy Young last year. You got Yu Darvish, who was second in the Cy Young last year. And then you go to Dinelson Lamet, who's a very good starting pitcher. He was their ace last year. And then you have Joe Musgrove and Chris Paddock. So you've really got a lot of depth in that rotation. And that bullpen is just very, very underrated. So they're going to pick up the pieces. I really love that Keela kid and Craig Stammen. But I think that this starting rotation is the key for the San Diego Padres. If they stay healthy, there's not a team out there that can really compete with them.
No, I agree with you totally. And even with the fact of what you said about the Dodgers as well, I mean, I think either way, both of them match up pretty evenly, especially after the addition of Yu Darvish. Because Yu is such a, we both know this personally. We got to see Yu play a lot. We're both Cubs fans and stuff, and Darvish is a great pitcher, and a top 10, maybe even arguably top 5 in the MLB pitcher. But he goes out to the Padres. He makes them a great rotation there. And I agree with you. He is the X factor, that piece that they needed, that could potentially be what gives them the edge in the fight for the World Series. Because at the moment they're contending for the World Series. I'd say that at worst, if so, even a Padres hater, I'm not saying I am, but a Padres hater at worst, the worst they could put them is fifth in the running for World Series, because they're just such a great team. I have them at 2, Dodgers at 1, but it also just speaks volume for how great that the NL West is, as for pitching as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The Dodgers in the West, obviously, they just come off their World Series run. I always, and we talked about this last week when I was picking my top 5, and I throw 2020 out of it. Like, I don't put 2020 in because, yes, I understand that the Dodgers won the World Series. Yes, I understand they were very good last year. But the season stopped after 60 games. There are a lot of teams that get hot and then fall off. The Colorado Rockies are on it. They always do that. They seem to have a very hot April, May, and June, and then once July hits, they forget how to play baseball.
The Cubs even did that last year. If there was a full season, dude, I don't even know if the Cubs would have made the playoffs, because they shot right off the gate. They shot straight up. They were playing amazingly. They were winning all these games, and then right as soon as we got near the playoffs, they plummeted. Man, I mean, it was those last probably 20 games. They just played terribly left and right, and then they got knocked out of the playoffs right out the gate. So, if we'd have played a full season, I don't honestly. I mean, I'm sure they probably would have made it, but at best, they'd have been a wild card team with how they were playing last year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that the Cubs lose that division, find a way to lose that division, if that's a 60-game season. They just weren't hitting. And that's been the tale of the Cubs since 2017. They won the World Series, and then for some reason, man, they can never just put it together all at the same time. It's either Rizzo's hot and Bryant's not, or Bryant's hot and Rizzo's not, or Bryant and Rizzo are both cold, but Baez picks up the slack, or all three of them are cold and Contreras finds a way to get it done. Like, they have not put together a consistent season since 2016, which I think is the reason why you see the Cubs trading so many of their pieces right now. I mean, they're still talking that they're actively shopping Chris Bryant. I've only heard one person say, and that was on the MLB Network, where he said that he thinks that Chris Bryant stays with the Cubs and they end up extending him long term. I just don't see that happening. I think that Baez has a deal before the end of spring, and Rizzo will have a deal before the end of spring. And
so do you think that this team will be built around Baez and Rizzo as time goes on, and I guess Jake Arrieta with the pitching staff?
Well, it won't be Arrieta's old. He's probably got 2 seasons left. I think if you're going to build around anybody in the current pitching staff, it's probably Kyle Hendricks. So you build around Hendricks. I think in the line, for me, I think Rizzo. Rizzo's the face of your franchise, and you build around. He'll give you a team friendly deal. He's that guy that'll give you the team friendly deal. Baez and Contreras are the guys you have to lock up long term and build around, because they're young enough and you can build around them. Rizzo's getting up there in age. I believe he's 32, 33, something like that. But you give me Rizzo, Contreras, and Baez to build around, and you're going to have a very successful club for a long time, because I get Baez's struggles, and I see, people talk, oh, he strikes out too much. He gets in these grooves where he just, he is the heart and soul of that team. As Javi Baez goes, the Cubs go. And whenever they seem to need a big play to be made, he's the one that makes it. Whenever they need a big hit, he's the one that comes up with it. He is that guy. I think that last year when the Cubs were falling off, the thing that helped them the most was there was nobody that could keep up with them in the NL Central. But I just think that I agree with you. Like, I don't think that they would have made the playoffs if they had gone a full season last year. Much like I don't think the Miami Marlins would have made the playoffs if they played a full season last year. I mean, we're talking about teams that came out of nowhere The Miami
Well,
Marlins,
yeah,
I mean, they went that
yeah.
first 2 weeks where they missed like I think it was 11 games or something like that they had to make up. So down the stretch, I think there was a point where they had to play I believe it was 37 games in 33 days to end the season. Like they didn't have a day off, and they had to play a bunch of doubleheaders in between. And and me included, I was like, "There's no way they're gonna pull out of that. I mean, they're going to hit a wall at some point. That's a lot of baseball to be played in such a short amount of time." And they just never found that wall. Like they just kept coming. They just kept playing hard, and they were doing what they were doing. And so the Marlins found a way in that short season to use that short season to their advantage and make the playoffs. Cubs
Yeah.
did the same thing. I think that, I think there are teams that didn't make the playoffs that might have. I think the Angels were coming on strong after a very weak start in the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season. But the problem was last year, after the first 3 weeks of the season, you're already a third of the way through the season. So
Yeah.
when they struggled early and came on late, they just didn't have enough time to come back. And that's why I think you saw teams like the Houston Astros, who were 2 games below 500, making the playoffs, was because you had teams that are, just notoriously bad starters like the Angels were last year. And I also think that's another reason why the Cubs failed to get off to, such a hot start, is because you look at guys like Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo always has his Aprils and May. By the end of May, he's usually hitting like 180. And then by the end of the season, he's usually hitting 270, 280, somewhere in that ballpark. So he just tears it up after May. But his first 2 months are always bad. So when you've got a season that's only 2 months long, that's the problem. So I see we got Hoffy backstage. So let's go ahead and welcome Hoffy to the show.
What's up, gentlemen? Better late than never, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, we had a time last week where I think Wyatt was about, I don't know, 10 minutes late to our interview. So it's all right. I mean, we
Hey,
don't expect you to be here on time, but we expect the host of the show to be here on time, and he can't even be on time, so you're fine.
All right, cool. Because my maids forgot to wake me up this morning. Oh wait, it's afternoon, isn't it? Yeah,
I was
this
gonna say,
afternoon. I was taking my afternoon
you're out in
nap. Sorry.
California. Yeah, it's dinner time out there in Cali, right?
Yeah, I'm still hungover from yesterday after watching all those UFC fights. So still trying to get my wits
You
about
sound
me.
a little rough, man.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get to those UFC fights. So, Hoffy, we were just talking about a little bit of baseball here. The first thing that we were talking about was spring training, and the one thing that I had said is I take zero stock in wins and losses. I know me, you, and Buck were talking, even though Buck does not admit it. He said that Kansas City keeps winning, and they should be in your top 10, that type of stuff. But how much stock do you take into wins and losses in March heading into the regular season? Like, is that something where, the first 3 weeks you don't even care, and then the fourth week you look at it a little bit more closely? Or are you looking at it from the get-go, hey, how are these guys doing? The wins and losses are telling you a lot.
Right. I look at it from the perspective of, hey, we said Nolan Arenado is not going to hit well in a Cardinals uniform. He's hitting pretty well right now in spring training, but he's getting all fastballs. I mean, these pitchers are just finding their grooves. They're finding their release points. They're finding their comfort zone. So yeah, I like you said, I don't take much stock in it. You're gonna see, a lot of players that are, Jackie Bradley Jr. always struggles with the bat, but he always hits 3-something in the spring training, and then come game plan time, you figure out how you're gonna pitch to him, and it's because you're gonna find that a lot more in the regular season than you do in spring training. Spring training is again finding your wits.
The other thing that you go through in spring training is that if you go up, let's say you're going up against the Mets and Jacob deGrom. Today, Jacob deGrom's only going to pitch an inning, maybe 2 at the most, and then you're going to be facing their relievers who are coming in. Their closer probably comes in the third. Their setup guy probably comes in the fifth or sixth. Like, it's all out of whack. So you're facing guys who are just trying to put work in, just trying to throw balls over the plate. So guys like Nolan Arenado, Jackie Bradley Jr., and Nolan Arenado is probably the biggest name there because of the trade and because he's Nolan Arenado. But I think his hot start I take even less stock into than Jackie Bradley Jr. because at least with Jackie Bradley Jr., what you're looking for is a guy who's just a career, I don't know, what is he, like a career 240 hitter? You look at him, you're just looking for him to be putting good wood on the ball. You're looking for him to be swinging at the right pitches, not striking out a lot, not chasing balls in the dirt, doing the right things. So I take a little bit more stock into guys like that than I do, like, I don't care if Chris Bryant's hitting 410. I don't care if Anthony Rizzo's hitting 520 in spring training, because to me, those guys are hitting lesser pitching. But my guys who normally don't hit, like Jackie Bradley Jr., who is a low twos career hitter, if he's hitting the ball at a 410 clip, I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see, for like from the Cubs' perspective, who's their second baseman going to be? You got your guy Nico right now that I think he's 7 for 10.
It's got to be his job to lose. You've got to come into this season and give Nico Hoerner 500 at bats and see what you got. Because this is a season for one, you have zero expectations because it's supposed to be a down year in this division.
The more I look at this offense, or the more I look at this team on paper, figure out a pitching staff, and I think you have potentially, if everyone is healthy, I think you have one of the best offensive lineups, top to bottom, throughout the whole league, not just in the NL as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing we were talking right before you came on was last year. We were looking at the shortened season, so a lot of teams got off to slower starts and didn't get to the things that they were doing. But you've got guys now like Anthony Rizzo, who's always a notorious slow starter, and you look at the Cubs and you look at that team, and they just, since 2016, they haven't all been able to put it together at the same time. I said you've got either Anthony Rizzo's hot and Bryant is cold, or Bryant is hot and Rizzo is cold, or they're both cold and Contreras and Baez are hot. Like, they haven't been able to put it all together for a complete season yet. So
I think that's going to happen this year. I think they're going to be one of my surprise teams, as well as the Brewers. You're not going to get a lot of offense out of them, but I think defensively they can be spectacular. And pitching wise, I think they're rated to be one of the 7th best pitching staffs. But again, it's going to be offense with them, and that's obviously Yelich is going to have a bounce back season. I mean, that's a slam dunk to take that one to the bank. But outside of him, really don't have a lot of offense on that roster.
Well, before we go to break and then get into some UFC here, I want to throw a curveball in there for you. So say the Cubs are doing really, really well, and they are clicking on all cylinders and they are doing all that. Chris Bryant has been the topic of the offseason about trade this, trade that, trade this. He is a Scott Boras guy. He's not going to extend. He's going to wait until the end of the year, and he's going to try to get 300, 400, however many million. To me, if it's me, you're not getting more than Nolan Arenado. So you better look at that Nolan Arenado deal and start from there and work your way down, because you're not getting more than Nolan Arenado because you're not there defensively. And you certainly can't stay healthy enough like Nolan Arenado has. Do the Cubs try to move him at the All-Star? If he is clicking on all cylinders, do they try to move him at the All-Star break and get something in return for him? Or do you ride the hot hand and just let him go for nothing in the offseason?
Are you sure you're not going to be able to re-sign him, though? I mean, I know we talked Scott Boras, and it's difficult to re-sign him, but
I would have to see what I think that they give Baez a deal before the end of spring training, and probably Rizzo as well. I think they extend those guys before we leave camp at the end of March. If they get those guys on hometown discount type deals, then yes, they can afford to keep Chris Bryant. But if we have to give Javi Baez $200 million over the next 7 to 8 years, you're not going to be able to afford Chris Bryant. You're just not. I mean, unless you want to pay the tax threshold on the luxury tax.
And now, we're going to take just a minute here, guys. We will be right back after this break. We will be talking some UFC with Hoffy here with us. Wyatt Williams, Brandon Combs, Hoffy with you right now. We will be right back.
All right, so we are back. Wyatt is not back. I think he got lost on his way to the bathroom or something. So we will talk with him here in a minute. Hoffy, UFC 259, man. I talked about it as being maybe one of the best cards ever in UFC. Did it disappoint you?
No, because I kind of expected, I mean, the first fight of the main card is always the one that's going to kind of set the tone. And you kind of saw, they were both hesitant in that fight. And I kind of, discussed that I thought the main event would be a lot like that, as Izzy kind of figured out his timing with, Blachowicz and, waited to get touched first to feel that power. So no, and the reason why I'm going to say that is because, the prelims and everything, the early prelims made up for it because I think that's where you got the bang for your buck in last night's card.
Yeah, so the prelims were great. They were as advertised. The early prelims were really good. I did miss a little bit of it just because ESPN Plus has a way during the prelims to skip a ton. Like it is in and out, back and forth, and it was driving me nuts. So there was a lot of the action that I missed in the prelims themselves. I did get to see the early prelims, all throughout, and the one that really stood out to me was I can never pronounce this guy's name though, but the knockout of Carlos Ulberg, Kennedy and Jek. I can never say his name, but at any rate, this kid knocks out Carlos Ulberg, and I mean, Ulberg was winning that fight, don't you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Ulberg was definitely controlling it and winning that fight up until he got knocked out.
Yeah, and when we were doing our picks this past week, I said, when we get to to this fight, I was going to bring it up, and we actually skipped over it. But yeah, I was huge on Carlos Ulberg. I still am, but he needs to figure out that just that timing and when to go for it and when to kind of ease back. But he definitely was winning that fight up until that point. But both of those guys are going to be special.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the other ones they went the way we thought they would. Amanda Lemos, she was very impressive in her knockout win over Souza last night, was she not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean that punch that she landed to knock out Souza was an absolute bomb. And we told you that these Brazilians were they just throw haymakers. That's what they do. And you don't get that a ton from women fighters. I mean, you get it anytime
Absolutely.
you watch an Amanda Nunes fight.
Yeah,
And we'll
it takes volume with the women for sure.
Yeah, and they these girls just threw haymakers, and Lemos, she was very impressive last night, man. She took some shots that you just normally don't see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So then we go over to the prelims themselves. I missed much of the Song Yadong fight, which I was very upset about, considering he is the favorite name that I've ever seen in the UFC.
Song Yadong.
Yeah. How did Kyler? You're gonna have to explain this one to me. How did Kyler Phillips look? Was the unanimous decision correct?
Yeah, that was one of the fights that I was kind of a little disappointed. I was expecting some more action, but yeah, I do believe that Song Yadong. I don't know about unanimous. I honestly thought it could have gone either way. I don't remember exactly what the card was. I'll agree with the decision, but I don't know that I call it unanimous.
Yeah, so like I said, I missed most of it, so I didn't get to see the little bit of it that I did get to see as it was coming in and out. I did see Song Yadong putting in work, and to me, the little bit that I saw, he was winning the fight. So I assumed that I was gonna hop on and see that Song Yadong had won the fight. So what I was missing must have been while Phillips was really landing his punches or something. The other one here is Askarov versus Benavidez. You texted me right after this fight and said, "Told you so."
Mm-hmm. Him against I know the the championship fight against Figueiredo is a complete different animal, but he's up there in age and he throws all of his punches looping, and everyone today is straight down the pipe, and unless you can change your ways and I was thinking maybe he might, but it's clear that he's not going to change his ways. So yeah, I think he's in a lot of trouble if he continues to fight. I do think that's a conversation that he should probably have with himself and maybe think about hanging it up.
Yeah, I was very unimpressed with his performance. I'd be surprised if you see him in another UFC fight. If he does decide to keep fighting, I'd be very surprised to see UFC put him in another match.
So the question I have for you guys, though, we've talked about her a little bit, but that's Amanda Nunes. Would you say after 259 this weekend, would you say now it's confirmed she is the female GOAT of the UFC?
She was already that beforehand.
Yeah, she was already. I mean,
she's beaten every champion. I mean, she beat Holly Holm with a head kick. She beat Ronda Rousey. I mean, and she destroyed Ronda Rousey too. And everyone said Ronda Rousey was the one. So yeah, and everyone says the bullet, Valentina Shevchenko is 1A, and she's beaten her twice. And Chris Cyborg, everyone said she was, the unbeatable, and she knocked her out inside of one round.
Okay, then to go a little further here, disregarding gender at all, do you think that she is the UFC GOAT or is going to make a case for being the UFC GOAT overall by the time she retires?
I think you have to. I think you have to at least put her in that conversation. Look, there's no, denying that there's a difference between the male fighters and the female fighters. Although I've come out and said it. I mean, I texted Hoffy yesterday after the Amanda Nunes fight, and I said I think she could be a champion in the lightweight division.
You think
because
so?
She's a beast, dude. But there's just a difference between Amanda Nunes fighting, the women's division versus a guy like, you've got, all sorts of them. You got GSP, you've got John Bones Jones, to me, is the greatest fighter of all time in the UFC. And the level of competition is just so much different. Wyatt, it's kind of like heading into the tournament. So when you look at it, say like Duke is 21 and I don't know, 6 or however many games. Oh, actually, let's put this.
Their record every year, but this year, yes.
Let's say they're 16 and 14 this year. Okay, so
Sure.
Let's say they're that, but Drake is 23 and 4.
Sure.
You almost think about putting Duke into the tournament over a Drake because of the level of competition that they play all year long. And
Absolutely.
It's the same thing when you start talking about, a woman's greatest of all time or a men's greatest of all time. And I know the day and age that we live in with the cancel culture. But look, we're now allowing men to fight in women's sports. And we're now allowing women to fight in men's. I would love to see Amanda Nunes in the men's lightweight division.
I'm not kidding you. I really think there are some men in the male UFC that she would legitimately destroy.
I think she would be a champion in the lightweight division.
Absolutely,
I really do. She is that damn good.
I think outside of the top, you look at. I know Peter Yan is a little bit of a cheater right now. But you got Sterling as well. But outside of like the top 10 in the featherweight, the lightweight, etc., I could see it. But in those divisions, those top 10s are killers. But yes, absolutely, I'm take nothing away from her. But at the same time, you got John Jones, he's undefeated. Yeah. You got Khabib, he's undefeated. So I don't know how you give it to Amanda Nunes when I know she has one UFC loss. I don't know how many exactly, what her exact record is, but. Yeah. You go 29-0, or in John Jones's case, 20-something 0-1, with a loss that doesn't count. It was one that he was beating the brakes off the dude before he got the guy with an illegal knee, Peter Yan style.
Well, you mentioned so you mentioned Peter Yan and Sterling. Combs was probably to mention it as well, I believe. But you mentioned that fight. A lot of people really weren't very happy about. The fact that Sterling, left with the belt. Some people weren't happy about the knee. They agreed with it. So, Hoffy, we'll start with you. First off, just what did you think of the situation? What do you take of that? And what do you see moving forward with the UFC? Do you see some kind of a rule change maybe with Dana White coming out and saying, hey, we're not just going to give somebody the belt over this? What do you see from this?
First and foremost, that fight should not have gone 2 seconds past, that illegal knee where the ref should have right then. And I mean, it's the ref's job. I don't care if that fighter gets up and says he's good to go. Anyone that says that this guy was acting, I mean, we all saw him walk out of the arena. He was not wearing that belt. I mean, if he was taking the easy way out, he would, he was sitting down in his interview. I mean, when they came back to take him from that interview, it looked like he was falling asleep right there in that chair. So no, the whole time from the start of that knee, I was screaming at my TV, no. And the fact that they allowed him to go back for the interview, any of that stuff, it should have been over the second that, that knee was thrown. Fight's over. I do understand that it's an unfortunate way to win the belt. But at the same time, and I discussed this with Combs, he was winning on one card. He was losing on two by 1 point. That foul should have been at least a 2-point foul, never mind a 1-point foul. At that point, you either, with a 1-point foul, go into that fourth round with two having it a draw, one having Sterling ahead, or you have Sterling ahead by one, or actually ahead on one, or 2 on one, and one on the other. So at that point, Sterling, potentially could have won that fifth round and won that belt. So I do get it. It's unfortunate. They're going to run it back. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
But Sterling should have no shame in wrapping that belt around his waist. I mean, he put on a hell of a fight. Yeah, he was losing, but I can't wait to see that fight. I think he's going to correct a lot of those mistakes. He's going to find ways to get that inside leg trip and such, rather than just going for those single legs and double legs that he failed on. Chael Sonnen said it best yesterday after that fight. You're going to find out in the first 5 minutes. If that takedown's not there, it's not there in the 15th minute. So he's got to find a way to get it in that first round.
Yeah. So Combs, now do you think Dana White possibly makes some kind of a rule here that restricts a fighter from getting a belt without a decision or without a knockout? Something, without, do you think that there's some kind of a move here from Dana White at all? Because, he is, of all the sports commissioners, he's the most active, in my opinion, as for moving things around and stuff like that to try and make the sport better. Do you think there's some kind of a move he makes here on this situation? And if so, what is it?
I don't. I don't think there's a need to. This is the first time we've ever seen this in a championship fight in the UFC. It has never happened before. It was one of those things where, and after the fight, they were talking.
We saw it
about,
with John Jones. John Jones versus Anthony Smith, but we've never seen an egregious, one like this.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad. And they were talking about it after the fight that Jan looked at his corner and said, "Hey, can I hit him here?" And they told him yes. So he went for it. He got bad advice from his corner. I just think it's one of those isolated incidents. I think you have to run it back. I think Aljamain Sterling's the champion, and I don't think that there's a reason for you to have to change anything, with the exception of, I think that you need to stop, you can't even really stop it, but there needs to be something where you've got fighters in the UFC coming at Aljamain Sterling and telling him that he faked it, or that he,
TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah. Dillashaw's an idiot.
Go do some more drugs.
But he called out both fighters. And I just, I don't understand how any fighter could think that any other fighter is going to take the easy way out, especially in a title fight, especially somebody at the level of what Aljamain Sterling is, to think that this guy, especially after the way he acted, throwing the belt on the ground, not leaving the arena with the belt, like, he almost doesn't want to accept the belt. You could see it in his face when they said he was the winner. He was surprised, genuinely surprised that he won the belt.
He tried to stand up 3 times and fell back on his butt. He wanted to continue that fight because he didn't know what was going on.
You could hear the ref say, the ref says, "What do you want to do here?" He goes, the fight's not ending like this. It can't end like this. And then after they called it, like, he turned over and started crying because he thought he lost his chance at the title. Like, so I don't think that there's anything that he's going to do, but that's just, it was an unfortunate event. I think by UFC 262, we'll see, depending on the concussion thing, we'll see a rematch of this again for the belt.
Yeah. I don't know how you can change the rule when it's considered disqualification. So by rule, that's a win for Sterling. So how can you say you win, but you don't get the belt?
Yeah. True.
Absolutely. And with that being said, that is all the time we have for UFC. We are going to take a quick break, real quick. We will be right back in 2 minutes to
Hey,
discuss
real quick,
some way
Wyatt,
or no way.
before we head to break, the main event between Blachowicz and Adesanya, we'd be remiss if we didn't get to that real quick. That decision, I would have understood, and I told Hoffy this right after the fight was over. That decision I would have understood if it went Blachowicz' way really, really close. But the 49-46, 49-45, I just don't understand. I don't get it. They need to go to live scoring.
I agree.
They just do.
That should have been 3-2, one way or the other. I don't care which way, but it was a 3-2 score.
I agree. All right, go ahead, Wyatt. Sorry about that. I just wanted to hit.
No, you're good. Absolutely. Hoffy, we appreciate your being on, buddy, but we will see you here soon as well, here back on the Man Hour. But with that being said, we are cutting to break here. We will be right back with some famous Way or No Way with Combs. We will see you in 2 minutes.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, guys, it is that time of week again, Man Hour Nation. It is your favorite time of the week. It is time for our infamous Way or No Ways. Wyatt, it's just you and me tonight, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Where do we think that this is going to go? It's just you and me to yell at each other, way or no way. We don't have Buck in here interfering and stuttering and giving us nonsense during our way or no ways. I don't know how
Way or No Way is normally the segment where we agree and Buck says the nonsense and we just kind of like stare at him all frantically. This segment is our beautiful moment where me and you can come together as Packers and Bears fans and look at a Kansas City fan and be like, what is he saying? You know what I mean?
You just killed it. I will never come together with you as a Packer and a Bear fan. It's just not. It's never gonna happen.
There is no bearing
we'll
of
come together
that
as two Cubs fans.
There's two Cubs fans, yes,
against the Royals fans. That's how we'll come together. How about that?
Perfect.
All right, so let's
two
get to it.
Blackhawks
We don't
fans,
have
two
any
Cubs
of the
fans.
sounds tonight since Buck's not here, and it's all on his computer, and I don't have access to any of that. But the first Way or No Way, we're going to continue with a little bit of UFC here. So we talked about that Peter Yan, illegal knee, and a lot of talk afterwards about whether or not it should be up to the fighter as to whether or not he continue, or should it be up to the ref. And I 110% agree it should be up to the ref. So our first Way or No Way here, should it be up to a fighter if he can continue after something illegal happens?
It is a tough call on that one. I'm going with no way here, but it's very close because at the end of the day, yes, the referee is there to protect, but also at the same time, it is that fighter's body. It is kind of in a way, he's saying, hey, I'm good. I'm still ready to compete, still good to go. But, also when you turn the table, the referee is there to protect these guys. That's what they're there for. They're there to, they say it before every fight, protect yourselves at all moments. And whenever they feel like they can't protect themselves at that moment, they step in and they say, hey, this is over with. I'm not going to let this guy kill this other guy, because if, the refs weren't there, we would have, 20 deaths a year in UFC. So that's what the refs there for. The refs there to step in in case if anything goes wrong. And when he feels suit that the fighter can't defend himself anymore. So, it is a toss-up. It's a tough one to really break down. But at the end of the day, if we're going to trust these referees to decide when a fighter isn't safe, when a fighter can't continue to defend himself, then why not let him to choose when a fighter should be, done because of an illegal move? So it's kind of 6 1 half dozen the other. It's a real toss up for me. But like I said, I am leaning a little bit more toward the no way on this because the ref already plays such a huge and crucial part into keeping these fighters safe, into deciding on those big moments. So why not just leave this in their hands as well? It is their job. The fighter's job is out there to fight, to try and win this fight, to land punches, to land kicks, to beat the person that you're fighting out there. That's their job. Their job is not to decide when they want to be done. That is the ref's job. The referee's job is to decide, hey, you just got punched in the face really hard and your eyes rolled to the back of your head and you're not responding anymore. So I'm going to get this guy away from you because he just did that to you. That's, I mean,
so for me, this is definitely a no way. I think it should 110% be up to the referee for 2 reasons. One, if an illegal act happens, like whether it is a low blow, like we saw in the John Bones Jones fight that Hoffy was referring to, he hit him with a low blow. The rules state that a guy, after he gets hit with a low blow, has 5 minutes to go ahead and try to get back in there and try to decide whether or not he can fight. When you get a knee at this position, you've got unlimited time basically until the referee or the doctor comes in and takes a look at you, and ultimately, like that did happen last night, and they ended up stopping the fight. There is not a fighter in the world. These guys are competitors. They are fighters. That this is what they are born to do. This is what they want to do, and they're not going to quit. They're not going to stop. Aljamain Sterling absolutely wanted to get back up and fight last night. And had he done that, he may have died.
Seriously,
because,
no, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the bad thing. Like,
you're not exaggerating at all when you say that. Genuinely, like his life was at risk in that moment. But you get these guys that are fighters. They don't think the way that we do. They see it as, I want this belt. I've worked my tail off for so long, put my body through all this work. This is my one opportunity in some cases to get this. So they get that fighting mentality about them. They get that strong head on them, and they don't want to stop.
And that's absolutely why it needs to be up to the referee and not the fighter. So
absolutely, because they would kill themselves if they didn't.
All right, so we are moving on here to our next way or no way here. The next one here, I'm going to go to a little bit of college basketball, something we don't talk a whole lot about on this show.
My favorite.
But, I looked at, who was it? Loyola Chicago today beats Drake in their conference tournament. Drake is a 23-4 team, I believe is their record. And they were in the top 25 at one point, are not in the top 25 anymore. Then you look at teams like Michigan State, who just beat Michigan in the
that was huge
title game, and then so you got Michigan State, who has a win over Michigan, a win over Illinois,
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Those are all top 5 teams at that time,
and all this week. So I'm gonna ask you this: the NCAA should put a number on a record like they do in football. You have to have 6 wins to qualify. That allows you into the college basketball tournament. So you look at some of these teams out there. Like I believe there was one tournament where both teams were under 500, but were in the final championship game of their conference tournament. One of those 2 teams is getting into the tournament. So the NCAA should put a number on a record that allows you into the college basketball tournament.
No way, and simply because it takes away from what March Madness is. It takes away from the Cinderella teams. Football and basketball are so different. As for like, it's a difference between 4 teams making the tournament and 64. That's the difference in teams here. We've got such a huge, wide variety of teams of all kinds, of all schemes, and all that stuff. Where in the college football playoffs, every year you've got your 4 blue bloods that make it. Every year, and in college football, it's totally different because in college basketball, you don't necessarily have like FCS, FBS. Teams like Drake will go out and play Michigan every year. Teams like Drake will go out and play these bigger schools. Indiana will play, your lower schools, and these lower schools compete. And it also takes away from the fact that you could have the worst regular season in the world. This is what I love about college basketball over any other sport, and this is why basketball is such an amazing game at the college level, because you could come into the tournament 0 and 1,000,000, 0 and 1,000, whatever number you want to say, 0 dash big number, right?
Right.
And you could win your conference tournament and you're into the big dance. That is what's beautiful about the NCAA basketball.
And case in point with that is it didn't happen, but Creighton took on Butler in their conference championship.
Yes.
And Creighton, obviously, they're a better team. They're like, I believe they were something like 18-5 or 18-6, something like
Creighton's
that.
ranked in the nation, so they're definitely a tournament punch.
But Butler was 9-14. So if
Butler just beat Villanova,
if Butler pulls that one out and finishes the season at 10-13 and gets into the tournament, and you look at a team like Drake who just gets left on the outside looking in because whatever reason this team got in, and they were an unranked team. They were a team we didn't expect to get in. We have to put Creighton in. So do you feel like that's all right because they won their tournament, that a 25-4 team is sitting at home, but a 10-13 team is going into the tournament because they got lucky in their conference tournament? With very little competition in that conference?
So it would suck if Drake did make the tournament. I still think even with this loss, Drake will still scratch in. Last time I checked, they were an 11 seed in the bracketology. So I still think that they are going to mark their way in. I think they'll be a little lower, though. I think they'll be a 13 seed. So everybody listening right now, remember, Drake is a sleeper team. Drake is a huge sleeper team in the tournament. Mark them down on your bracket. But, it sucks for Drake. It definitely does to look on the outside, but also it's cool for Butler. It's cool for the Butler people. Like, hey, we had this bad season, but you know what? We turned it around at tournament time. We became a real team late. We're playing really good basketball. They beat Villanova a couple of weeks ago. They had a really good conference tournament in the Big East, and they got their way all the way down to play Creighton. They lost to Creighton, unfortunately, so they will not be making the tournament. But it's cool because if they made the tournament, if they win that conference tournament, they make the big dance. You punch your ticket automatically. So that is what's cool to me. It's kind of half and half. It sucks for the Drake people if they were to not make it, and it would be great for the Butler people if they would have made it.
And that's one of those things too. When you look at a team like Creighton, and you look at Butler. If Butler wins that tournament, I mean, there is going to be a team that should have gotten in that won't get in because this Butler team, who was 9-14, nobody saw coming, wins their tournament. Like, who do you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be every year there's somebody that's left out that should probably be in because of a team that won a lower conference and probably with the worst record, or maybe even the same record, but played less of a schedule. And I think that's where you get into, just like college football, you have to have at least 6 wins to get in. It doesn't even matter if you win your conference title game. If you go, I mean, obviously without 6 wins in college football, you're probably not going to your conference title game.
No way.
But this, basketball is a different breed because of the tournament. College football doesn't have tournaments for their conference titles. So I just feel like they should put some sort of number on it. You have to have this many wins to qualify. You should have to have that many wins to qualify for even your conference tournament, I would believe. So that's just me. Moving on here, we'll get to the next one here. Another way or no way. Third one, the Dodgers, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, will launch an eye patch night in honor of Trevor Bauer.
Way, baby, because Trevor Bauer is the greatest pitcher of all time. That is why. I don't care who your favorite pitcher is ever.
You can't even say it without laughing. You don't even believe yourself. That's the problem. You don't even believe it. You're just saying it because you want to hear me get loud. You want to hear me yell at you. You want to hear me tell you that you don't even know what you're talking about when it comes to baseball. And that's what you've got right now.
Trevor Bauer, baby. I love you.
The Dodgers are going to launch an eye patch night. They're going to launch it. It makes the most sense because Trevor Bauer is their big addition. Trevor Bauer is the guy that right now is marketing himself all over social media in this little war that he's having with the Mets.
You got to at least give it to him. For pitching with one eye, he did a really good job. Come on now, say it.
For pitching with one eye, he did a very good job against a bunch of minor leaguers in spring training baseball. Yes.
But that evens the playing field, you know? They're minor leaguers. He only has one eye. So let's
stop it. My God, why
Trevor,
do you do this?
I'm getting a Trevor Bauer jersey.
Here. We were supposed to come into this freaking way or no way as two Cubs fans like we talked about before, who were on the same side, and you had to come at me with the Trevor Bauer stuff and get me all worked up. That's it. You know what?
Hey, look at this. Look at this. Tori Anderson says, Michelle, are you here? Whisper Trevor Bauer in his ear before going to sleep. Please, Michelle. Please, I beg you. I am begging you.
Big X Radio, Man Hour Nation. We will be back in 2 minutes. Man Hour Nation, what is going on? We are back. Got me all worked up before we went to break. But we are back here. We're going to talk some headlines from this weekend. So the NBA had the All-Star break this weekend. They had the
All-Star games going on right now.
Yeah, last night.
Last night.
So I lost interest, man. It was 80-72 in the second half. Like they don't play defense. They shoot a bunch of threes or they dunk the ball.
No, they're not. They're not running clock anymore. They're going until they go to a certain score.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they're doing now because they want to end the game on a game winner. Adam Silver changed it like that. They don't run a clock anymore. They go for certain people to score this many in this quarter. They have to score this many in this quarter to win. So it's like playing a game of 24-4 or whatever.
That's ridiculous.
To make it more interesting.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I love it. It's amazing.
It's so stupid. So stupid. Oh my God. Look, this is why I just can't with the NBA anymore. Like, they don't play defense during the regular season. They don't play defense in the playoffs. It's just a bunch of guys either shooting threes.
They play defense in the
No, they don't.
conference finals and on.
No, they don't.
At least then.
No,
I will
they
give you
don't.
that.
Maybe one game. I just, for me, the NBA has just gotten so soft. For instance, I used to love watching the slam dunk competition. I used to love watching a 3-point contest. I used to
The
love watching
slam dunk
skills
competition and 3-point contest is better now than it has ever been. You cannot deny
I
that.
can't even tell you who was in the slam dunk competition this year.
Because you didn't watch it. I'm telling you right now.
Who was it? All right, come on, Mr. Smart Guy. Who was in the slam dunk competition this
I didn't
year?
get to watch it last night. I didn't know it was All-Star Weekend. I thought it was next
but
weekend.
you're an NBA guy. Like, you would know who's in the contest at least, right?
I would if I watched it.
Now you sound like Buck.
I was calling
Jeez,
games. I didn't get to watch it.
Oh, all right. But you want to call me out? You said I didn't know because I didn't watch. No, I didn't know because I didn't care. Like, I just don't care about the NBA anymore. I just don't. I know that Steph Curry won the 3-point contest because anytime Steph Curry does anything, it's on ESPN for about 7.5 hours in a row.
Come on, but he's incredible. He's the greatest shooter of all time. He's incredible.
He's the greatest long-range shooter of all time, for sure.
No, he is the greatest shooter of all time.
He's the greatest long-range shooter.
Oh, come on. He is. Who is a better shooter than him?
On the court, and that includes being in the stand. The guy's a freak.
He can literally hit any shot you want him to right now on the court anywhere. He is the greatest by far shooter of all time. Like, it's not even close. Yeah, the only one that may come close is like Ray Allen. That would maybe be close. The only 3-point shooter that may come close as well, like Ray Allen. That's all that I could really say. That if anybody had an argument for Ray Allen,
Bird?
like I just, Larry Bird. Larry Bird wasn't a 3-point specialist though.
Yes, he was. The guy wouldn't go home until he hit 100 3-pointers from beyond the arc.
But he wasn't a 3-point specialist. He was a great passer.
Because they didn't have 3-point specialists when he played. You know why? Because they played defense and didn't let you shoot threes all day long.
You're just angry. Like right now, I got it on behind us. Giannis just had an incredible dunk in the game.
Jesus Christ! I bet you Trevor Bauer. I bet you Trevor Bauer in the NBA within the next 5 years, nobody cares about.
Trevor Bauer in the NBA?
Trevor Bauer and the NBA.
Oh, and the NBA. Oh, no. The NBA is the largest growing league right now.
No, it's not.
It's loved throughout the world.
There is no way that the NBA will ever be higher watched than Major League Baseball.
It is right now, I believe.
No, it's not.
I'll have to check that, but I'm pretty sure.
The NBA Finals didn't even outdraw. I believe it was the NHL Finals.
No, it was a Seattle game. But the NBA the NBA has never had to compete with the NFL. Now I agree with you. The NBA would never even compare in ratings to the NFL because the NFL is
I'm talking about the NHL, not the NFL. The NHL. I believe this past year, the bubble. I believe the NHL had more viewers than the NBA.
Let me check it.
Because there was a lot of political stuff going on, so a lot of people lost interest and stopped tuning in. They were hurting. And the NHL, to me, is just a better product, especially in the playoffs. These guys play hard the entire time as opposed to, 3 minutes a night. I can't with the NBA. Like, you get into certain things, and like, I don't even understand the scoring in the All-Star game like you're talking about with Team LeBron and Team Durant, and like that's the other thing. How is Durant the captain of the other team? Like, how do they pick captains now?
They just they do a voting on the two captains on who it should be, and LeBron got voted in, and then Kevin Durant got voted in as well.
Hasn't Kevin Durant been hurt for like the last 4 weeks?
No. I mean, like he's had a couple of injuries like as the season gone on and stuff, but like he's still like had a good season before that.
Fan voting is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Why? It's the fans
because
choosing
why
stuff.
do you let fans decide who are the best in each league that you want to like? Those aren't the best in each league. The players should decide who the all-stars are. The fans, same thing in Major League Baseball. The fans should, because you've got fans. I guarantee you that if you look at the voting, I guarantee you that in the NBA, at least 5 fans voted for Michael Jordan to be in the All-Star game.
In 2019, the World Series had 14.1 million people viewing live. Okay. In 2019, the NBA had 20.1 million. They beat them by 6 million.
Okay, what about in 2020?
2020. Check it right here. 2020 World Series viewership was 14.3, and then 2020 NBA Finals viewership 7.5 mil.
Yeah, see, so it doubled.
But they were competing with
them this year.
Well, no, I know, but they were competing with the NFL at that time.
No, they were competing with themselves. They were competing. They played that bubble in the middle of the summer. They were competing with baseball.
No, they weren't. They played the bubble.
Yes,
the bubble.
No.
I promise, because I watched the finals game and then clicked over to Russell Wilson playing on I think it was like Thursday Night Football. They competed with the NFL for their season. That's why their ratings went so far down, was because the NBA has never had to compete with the NFL, and the NFL's ratings are so high always.
Baseball's World Series was in October. They're competing with the NFL too.
When was their World Series?
The World Series is always in October, Wyatt.
No, not this year. It moved, didn't it?
No. Oh my. I can't with this guy. I just can't. Buck, where the hell are you, buddy? I need you. I can't with this. He's 18 years old. He's not even out of high school. He doesn't even know when the World Series is. Buck, I need you, buddy. It's called the Fall Classic. They play
every year, but Rob Manfred started the season so late. I didn't know if they got it in like the last 3 days of October.
No, it was
yes, it was October 27th.
The final game of the World Series was on Halloween night.
October 27th was the final game. I'm looking at it right here. Halloween's the 31st.
The last game 7 of the World Series was on Halloween night.
What?
Don't tell me it didn't go to 7 games. Yes, it did.
I'm looking at it right now. They 4-2 Dodgers win. Dodgers won the series 4-2 on the 27th of October. With 4 days left in October. They almost missed it.
Oh, all right. So with 4 days left in October, when did the NFL season start?
NFL season started in September.
Okay. So who are they competing with in October?
They're competing with the NFL.
Okay. So baseball doubled the NBA's totals, also competing with the NFL, also competing with the NBA Finals. And doubled up their numbers. In 5 years, Trevor Bauer
weren't in a bubble,
and the
though.
NBA,
And they also weren't in a bubble. Nobody liked watching bubble basketball. There's no fans. It's not the same.
The end of the year, at the end of 5 years, Trevor Bauer and the NBA will be obsolete.
I think Man Hour Nation, what is up? We are back from our break. Wyatt Williams, Brandon Combs here with you, and we have got some more headlines to go over. The one we want to discuss here, and it is NBA player James Harden. He had his number retired with the Houston Rockets or something. It's very confusing how it all went on. They're going
announced
to.
that they're going to retire his number. That's absurd to me.
It's stupid.
Like, what? Why are we? For one, he's still playing, and not only is he still playing, but he just left your franchise because he hated you. What are you doing that you're bringing in James Harden and retiring his number while he's still playing for another team, and he's probably going to go further in the NBA playoffs than you are? What are you trying to accomplish by retiring his number?
Well, Houston has literally in the last year, Houston has lost every single athletic face to their franchise, and they're trying to get them all back. So I guess that's their tactic for getting Harden to come back after he's done with the Nets.
Buck with the Houston thing. Time to bang some trash cans, he says on the chat line. Look,
oh yeah,
what is going on in the city of Houston with their sports teams? Like, I don't understand what is going on. I mean, you've lost in the last however many months. You've lost J.J. Watt. You're probably losing Deshaun Watson. You lost James Harden. Your baseball team is the butt of every baseball joke in America because of their cheating scandal. Like, what in the hell is going on in Houston? It used to be one of those cities where they were a proud franchise in every sport. The Rockets were always. I mean, you look back in the day when they had Olajuwon and they had Drexler.
Team the Dream.
Like, yeah, they were unstoppable, and I just don't understand what the hell is going on and why. Like, what did he do in Houston that warrants him getting his jersey retired? Did he win a championship in Houston?
No, God,
Did
no.
he get him to a finals in Houston?
No.
So
No.
what? What are they doing?
No. But speaking of the dunk contest, it is during halftime of the All-Star game. I'm looking up and it's starting right now. The dunk contest is. So
Really?
Yeah, I just looked up. I thought they already had it. But this All-Star game, this All-Star weekend is so confusing now. I thought it was next weekend. Turns out it's this weekend. They already had the three-point contest. Then I thought they had the dunk contest on that night. But this year they're doing it at halftime of the All-Star game. I am rattled right now. I don't even know which way is up.
I don't understand what the NBA. Look, what they're trying to do is they're trying to cause more viewership for the All-Star game itself because nobody watches the All-Star game, because the All-Star game's a joke, and to have the dunk the dunk contest itself used to take like an hour, right?
I think it still does. I think it still might.
What do you have? 3 guys in the slam dunk contest?
I
don't even know who's in it.
Yeah, 3 dunkers. Obi Toppin. There's a guy from the Pacers. God, I'm gonna forget his name now. And then Simmons from the Blazers. But I can't remember the guy from the Pacers' name. But the guy from the Pacers released a statement that said he is going to do dunks that have never been seen or done before. They're going to be. No, it's not. No, Oladipo plays for Houston now.
Oh, Houston. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about the trade. Okay.
But I can't remember his name. But as soon as it comes up, I'll remember who it is. But
so you've got 3 dunkers. So I'm assuming
it's Cassius Stanley. What am I saying? So it's Cassius Stanley, Obi Toppin, that are those 2. That's the one I forgot was Cassius Stanley. But yeah. So
you got 3 dunkers, and then I'm assuming you've got 2 rounds. Then you've got the first round, and then one will be eliminated, and then you'll have a final round.
I think so. Yes.
Dumb. Just dumb. Remember we used to have like 7, 8 dunkers? Like, I just don't understand. Isn't the entire All-Star game a slam dunk competition at this point?
Kind of. In a 3-point contest.
In a 3-point contest. Like, why not? Let's do that in that realm. I might watch at that point. I might watch an NBA All-Star game if you're going to award the 3-point contest and the slam dunk contest in the same event. And the winner of the All-Star game in the same event.
Oh, man. Cassius Stanley just did his first dunk. He just threw the ball up in the air, dragged it, went between his legs, and jammed it over his head. Pretty cool.
Nah, look, it's watered down. I just don't understand it.
You've got to at least admit that dunk contests now are better than they've ever been because athletes over time evolve and get better. That's a fact to the human race.
They're doing the same dunks. But you say that. They're doing the same dunks that were invented by a guy who was dunking in the 2000s, Vince Carter.
I mean, a lot of them do a lot of Vince's dunks, but some of them don't do Vince's dunks. Like a couple of years ago, we had Dwight Howard raise the rim all the way up to 13 feet, and then did a dunk on a rim that was at 13 feet, which was incredible. I mean, they have to get new and original with it.
Why is that incredible? He's 9'7". He should be able to dunk the ball at 13 feet.
9'7".
He might as well be
He's
9'7".
6'10".
That's 9'7" to me. Look, I'm a little Irish guy from Chicago. I'm about 4'7.5", if you ask Buck. Like, why is it amazing that these guys can dunk at 13 feet? Look, I'll give him that one, actually, to be honest with you. That is pretty incredible. A 13-foot rim to dunk on that is insane.
That's nuts.
For 13 feet, I would need a 16-foot ladder to dunk a ball. So that's ridiculous. I don't know. I don't get it with the NBA. I don't get what they're doing anymore. They've lost me completely. I even tried, I legitimately tried once we started doing, Man Hour, and even before that when I was doing Triple Shot Sports last year. I tried getting back into the NBA and watching. I lasted 2 games, and I just couldn't do it. I just can't. And look, I know the Bulls have a really good rising star in Zach LaVine. The kid can.
Billy Donovan's a good coach too.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he was a great hire for the Chicago Bulls.
Like Kobe White, you guys got a really good young roster that's got a lot of potential. Right. Really, I mean, Kobe White from North Carolina, he's awesome. You got him, Lauri Markkanen. He is a really good power forward coming up into the league.
Lauri Markkanen was the steal of the draft 3 years ago. I did.
As he might have been, he's a great player. He's playing really good. So we'll see how they do it. But we just had Obi Toppin go his dunk. He went up, dribbled it between his legs, then jumped in midair, grabbed it, went between his legs again and dunked it.
I turned it down. That's
He got a 48 on it. That was a pretty cool dunk.
Yeah, he got a 48 on it because they got nothing to judge against. So. That dunk, he bounced the ball, caught the ball as he bounced it, and dunked it. That's not a 48 dunk.
He bounced
Give
it
me
between
a break.
Oh my lord!
Who the hell? What do they got? Ray Charles. I see Ray Charles is one of the judges. I see. Let's see who else. Yeah. So it's the 3 blind mice and Ray Charles are the 4 judges.
You're trying to think of any other blind stars, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. So no. All right. So let's get off NBA for a little bit because I just think that the NBA for me, I don't know. We could talk about it all night and it's just not going to get any better. Let's talk about Major League Baseball and the Players Association and what do they need to do? What do they need to do to stop with these service time adjustments? So they've got it now to where in the collective bargaining agreement that you have to play a certain amount of games in your rookie year. Otherwise, you get an extra year of control on a contract, on a rookie contract. So teams are holding their guys back for the first, 11 days, of the season in order to get an extra year of control. Now that's great for the players. Great for the organization, but it's horrible for the players. I don't know why they ever allowed this into the collective bargaining agreement. But with the collective bargaining agreement expiring, and that was another horrible dunk. I mean, they put the ball up halfway up the backboard.
Oh my lord.
It's an alley-oop. Give me a break.
Unless if Michael Jordan dunks it, you're not going to be satisfied.
First of all, that's an alley-oop, but the ball's just sitting there. He doesn't even have to catch it while it's in flight. It's an alley-oop. That's a joke. Anyway, should Major League Baseball have to change the service time with the players, because to me it's just, I mean, to get a 7th year of control, to me you're just stopping the players from making more money. The fact that you look at Javi Baez and Anthony Rizzo, that year that they won the World Series, Anthony Rizzo, I think his pay that year was under $1 million.
Yeah, no, that's
and I know for sure Javi Baez's was. Like, that's insane to me.
No, and it's something that the MLBPA definitely needs to address. It's something that, like you said, I don't even know how you could let something get out like that if you're the Players Association. When you notice that right off the bat and be like, oh, this is going to screw my players in the long run. When it comes year 6, year 7-ish, year 7 if it gets to that point. Wouldn't they be able to notice like, oh, hey, my players are getting screwed over as for this, but they don't, and the MLB teams don't care because all they care about is getting a quick buck, with only paying Javi Baez and possibly Rizzo. I'm not sure either, but only paying them, a percentage, a small percentage of what they're actually worth. That's all that they really care about, is getting their deal on the great player to be able to succeed and end up winning the World Series. So when it comes to that, in the end, all that happens is the players get screwed over on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a joke. To me, and I've been a big advocate that the players are actually underpaid as opposed to overpaid. But I think it's a huge gross oversight by the Players Association when they allowed that to get in. And so we look over here at the chat line real quick, and Tori Anderson says, let's talk about hockey. The Vegas Knights getting kicked out of their hotel in the middle of the night because the hotel went bankrupt and shut down immediately. That
wouldn't you think in that moment, you've got millionaires, you have millionaires sitting in your hotel lobby. Wouldn't you think instead of kicking them out, maybe ask for a little more money? I mean, what are we doing here, guys? You've got a serious money opportunity in front of you, and you kick these guys out. What?
But
just tell them like, hey man, I'm running a little tight. You think you could spare a couple of bucks of your, $10 million that you have off of this year for playing hockey?
But what? No, but not even that. Because if I'm a player, I'm like, no, I'll go across the street to the other hotel and
exactly,
I'll sleep for free. But what happens where at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m., I haven't read the story yet, but what happens anywhere where there are actually corporate managers or people in corporate that say, hey, guys, we went bankrupt. Go ahead and kick everybody out of the hotel. Like, wouldn't you wait until checkout and not take in any more reservations? Wouldn't you allow everybody who's staying in your hotel who is a paying customer, because they wouldn't be in one of your rooms if they weren't a paying customer, wouldn't you allow them to finish their night of sleep and just not take in any new customers?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's so weird as a situation, kicking them out in the middle of the night. It's, I don't know, especially with the fact that, like I said, you don't want to tick off the people that are some of the richest people in your city. They're athletes, you don't want to tick those
every
people
time
off.
they come to your city, they're using your hotel. Most of these teams use the same hotel every time they go to a city.
And also, how do you run out of money if a professional sports team trusts you to keep their players there?
Well,
something money wise has to be going on.
With COVID and everything, I understand where some businesses, especially hotels, are losing money. You know what I mean? Because
sure,
you're only allowed a certain amount of visitors now. You're only allowed a certain amount of rooms to be sold. You're only allowed this. You're only allowed that. So I could understand where they could actually go bankrupt. I just don't understand the logic behind waiting until 2 a.m. to close down. Like, checkout at every hotel I've ever been to is at least 10 or 11 a.m. All right? And check-in is at 3 p.m. So why don't you just wait, allow everybody to check out that day by 11 a.m., and not let anybody check in at 3 p.m.? Like, exactly. I don't understand the mindset. Hey, we've got to close the doors right now. It's 2 a.m. Wait, what? Like,
everybody
it makes no
out.
sense to
everybody
me.
Out now.
Yeah, we've got to get out, and we've got to get out now, guys.
Run, get to your
It
cars
is 2
quickly.
a.m. and if we allow these guys to finish their sleep, we are going to be negative.
I just want to know what the conversation was like. Beating on the door and talking to an NHL player. Hey man, so I know that you're like this multi-millionaire, but here's the deal. We gotta have something. You gotta go. Okay, I know it's 2 a.m. You probably got a game tomorrow, but you gotta get out of here.
Yeah. How do
Like,
you explain it? Like,
how
first
do you-
of all, these guys beat each other up because you slapped their stick. I can only imagine what happens when you wake one up at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, guy, you gotta get out."
Yeah, he won't even take his gloves off. He'll just start like swinging at you immediately. He won't even have to take the gloves off. He won't have time for that. He'll get so heated so quickly.
Like, I just don't understand. As I'm looking at one of the dunkers right now, just put on a Tracy McGrady jersey. What is the meaning behind the Tracy McGrady?
Because that's the T-Mac dunk whenever he won the paying tribute to T-Mac. Like Larry Nance a couple of years ago, whenever
to T-Mac, you are copying. You are copying a dunk, and you put on a T-Mac jersey to get more points for a dunk that's already been done. The slam dunk contest is about original dunking.
See, look, here it is, Gomes. There it is.
I saw it. It's stupid.
You're so negative.
He turned around in a circle and put a ball in the hole.
You're so negative.
It's not negative. It's stupid.
You are negative.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man.
He got a 49 for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what.
Tori Anderson says on the chat line, explain what to do to watch the after show to everyone, mostly me. All right, so for those of you that watch us on Facebook and YouTube, I'm going to give you a very simple answer. Buck is going to have to tell you what to do to watch the after show because
I know what to do.
He's our IT. Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, so I have a general gist of an idea here. So you go to manhourradio.com, our website. Once again, I'm not an IT guy.
I know what to do. I know what to do. I got this. I've got a general gist of an idea.
So go to manhourradio.com, go to the members only tab, click on that, and then it'll give you the options to go through and pay the $5 to continue on to be members only.
Okay. And then how do they actually get in to watch the show? Because Tori is already a member. But he can never seem to find the show.
Oh, I see that now. What to watch? My bad, Tori. I thought you were saying how to become a member. My bad. I apologize. No, so I think you just go back to that members only tab and click on that, and it should say like after show, live after show, or whatever. And you could.
It's usually.
Click on
I
that.
do know it's usually 2 to 3 minutes after we go off the air that Buck goes live with the after show. Again, on nights that he's not here, then we will not be doing the after show because he controls all of that. We have no way of controlling it. And and then I was looking at Tori's comment here. This is the Wyatt version of a dad saying, "We are both lost when he is lost." So. You go to the members only tab and you click on the link and it'll have the one for that night. Now when you click on it, it should pop up with us once we go live. But again, so tonight there is no after show. Tomorrow night there will be no after show because Buck will not be on the show tomorrow night either. We were kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Tomorrow we will have a better show prepared for you for sure. But there will be no after show tonight, tomorrow, or I believe Thursday because Buck will not be here either. So if you are joining us live on the Facebook or the YouTube page, that is how you get to the after show. Wyatt, you got any closing thoughts for the people?
Man Hour Nation.
Man Hour Nation. Rise up.